Jerry Chambers has a whole fleet of race cars, anything from Buicks to Fords to this 67 Chevy 2. Today on Main Streets, we're going to sit down with him and talk about this little Chevy 2 street car he's got going on.
Hi, I'm Wayne Varley.
I'm Brent.
I'm Jerry Chambers.
Here we are with him. We're going to talk about this Chevy 2 he's got and let them kind of talk about how they got started. I guess the first question is, you've been a Buick guy forever, as far as I've known. And then you got the little Chevy 2 here. Tell us a little bit about this car.
Well, this car, you need a lot better, more of an ultimate street car today. It's went from 12-second cars when I started out with Wayne, and 11-second cars, and then we went 10-second cars, and then we went 9-second cars, and right now, the street scene and the racing scene's kind of out of hand. You've got to have a really badass car to do anything with,
right?
And to get anywhere in the street scene today, you need to be like where Wayne is.
Right. You seem to have a car for every second. 12, 11, 10, 9.
Well, I just kind of kept them through the years. You get so far with one, and it was cheaper to go buy another car.
Right.
And upgrade. Where, some people will throw $200,000 into one car. I just kept building as I go. So my daughter's able to drive my 12.0 car now in Junior Street, and also I've got a boy that drives in the 12.0 class for me.
Awesome.
So I got 2 kids driving for me right now.
I thought we were coming out here to film a fucking Buick. Guess what? It's another fucking shit.
Sneaky motherfucker.
Well,
Sneaky motherfucker.
Yeah.
So how did y'all get started? How did your racing get started?
My racing got started with my dad. Went out to General Motors. We had a 12-second car, which back in the early 80s was really fast. We did a lot of racing at General Motors. My dad grabbed me up about midnight on Saturday night, and him and I would disappear till about 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's how it works.
Once I got to where I could have a car, it was a big deal. He didn't want me street racing. That wasn't a part of the deal. He wanted me to go to the track.
Right.
So he kind of held the car over my head. He got what he wanted out of me. After I got done and grew up at home, I went ahead and got me a street car. I got a Camaro. It was more or less a drag car with a 350 Chevy in it. I blew up the Chevy motor. My dad gave me a set of heads and an intake, and we put a 455 Buick in it. It ran 1090s. I ran that for about 4 or 5 years. Then I ended up with the yellow and black GSX. I probably raced that car for about 10 years.
Right. You used to go back and forth with that Sunday.
Yeah, up and down
That's
39.
What I thought you were filming.
Out at the lake, and a little bit everywhere. And I normally drove my stuff about 60 miles round trip. Pump gas, driver. My stuff's basically a 2-bolt main Buick motor. I'm only capable of making so much power. About 650 horse, you're going to dump the crank out on the ground.
Right.
So I have my limitations. I've thrown the crank out on the ground several times. I know what does it, and I found the limitations on those motors. What made me go to the Nova and switch over to a Ford, which I have driven a Ford, with a Ford motor in it, and was very successful with it in the last couple of years. You can't compete with a Buick. I don't have the capability. I don't have the head capability. My best set of heads flows 320, 340, maybe 340 CFM. The people today, they have 400 and 500 CFM heads. So basically
the Buick stuff isn't caught up with all the Fords and the Chevys yet.
No, there's not a big demand for it.
Right.
No, and with the Buick stuff, guys, there was only 1970, 71, and 72. You had the 455 Buick, so you've got 2 years, and then you've got our 86 and 87 Grand Nationals. I will say this, guys. The guys with the Grand Nationals back in 87, they knew what's going on. Yeah. The 6-bangers with the hairdryer on it, that's the way everything's headed now. Right now, I've always been a nitrous racer. And it seems like a lot of the nitrous racers are going away from the nitrous and going to turbos or blowers. I'm not a computer guy. I don't want 5 people to help me run a car. I have several cars. I run them by myself. I have a blown alcohol car, which is a Buick, which is one of the fastest Buicks in the country, the Super Dog. It's been #1 several years. It's a 3,000-pound car with a Buick motor in it that's capable of running 790s or 80s.
You've had that car for like 25 years.
Yeah. Back in 2000, I was running 820s.
Right.
And everybody else was running, 990s, 10.0s. When they came out with the King of the Valley, That was a big thing for Wayne. He was real successful in that. I couldn't compete with a 3,800-pound car and try to go race these guys with a lot better components than I had.
Right.
So, like I said, I've just kind of switched over to the Chevy and just trying to be a little more competitive.
Yeah.
Well, you got the Chevy 2 back here, 67 model, so give us a little insight on that thing.
It's a back half car. It has a 632 in it. I can drive it anywhere. Anywhere anybody wants to drive, they want to go on a 50-mile cruise and race, I'm in. Outlaw Street's what I've ran it in. Now I'm going to start running it in True Street. I've got 2 sets of tires for it. And I kind of feel like that's where I belong, is the Outlaw Street and the True Street.
Right.
I've got a Corvette that runs 460s. It's probably one of the cheapest race cars I've ever had. I run the motor in that for 5 years. I run it by myself. I don't need any help with it. But I'm not going to incorporate 10 guys to try to run 390s and try to go that fast. I'm more interested in me running everything, me tuning everything. I may not be the best tuner in the whole wide world, guys, but I tune all this stuff. I make it all run.
Right.
So.
Is that a ladder bar car or is it a 4-link car?
It's a ladder bar car.
Ladder bar car, 9-inch rear end.
Yes, sir.
What kind of Bruce Jenner do you have in it?
Oh,
Bruce Jenner.
It's a little old NX nitrous system, Powerglide transmission, and one thing I was really impressed about with the car when I got it, I can go drive it, and I can take it on a cruise, I can take it down the street, and enjoy driving the car as far as racing it and driving it.
Right. Now the 632, and is it a Big Chief motor or is it conventional head?
It's big.
Another secret.
Sneaky motherfucker.
So, as far as the motor, it is, if anybody's familiar with self-racing, it's got self-stamped all over it. Those guys do an awesome job down there. They know their business when it comes to camshafts and making stuff work with that big block Chevy stuff.
Right. Sounds awesome. Now, you got a big bottle on this one?
Actually, no. It's got a 200 shot on it.
Really?
Yeah, I run a 200 shot on it, and that's all. That's about all I run on it. It has 2 kits on it. Never have turned the 2 kits on. Don't have any idea what it'll do on 2 kits.
Plate or fogger?
Both.
Both.
You can pick.
Awesome.
200 on one, 200 on the other, and it runs almost the exact
That's
same.
400.
Well,
How the fuck are you going to say it's 200 when you got 2 200s on?
Well, I never have ran them both at the same time. I just run one kit. So, yeah.
You got to watch this motherfucker.
Street racers never tell the whole story.
No.
That's it. And there's been many a times, the reason we don't tell the whole story, there's been several times back in the day when we were running the yellow car, Fast Eddie, me and Fast Eddie would end up out on the side of the road in the back of a cop car and watch everybody else drive off. Well, him and I were the oldest 2 there. You know, we're 22, 24, 25, 26 years old. All the kids drive off, and they got us in the back of the police car. So I didn't like any of the police car.
I used to have my kids pour Dr. Pepper out of gallon milk jugs.
Yeah.
And we took off, and then the cops come roaring through there, and he gets me out of the car. He goes, "What the hell are those kids doing back there with those milk jugs?" I said, "Pouring Dr. Pepper." "Get in a goddamn car." And I was pissed.
You know, Fast Eddie must have been around quite a bit because it seems like every show we do, his name pops up, and someone's got a story about
He was
him.
really fast on the street, but not getting away from the cops.
Not getting away from the cops, neither one of us. We'd be up there lined up, and they pulled up behind us. There was one night that me and Kevin Smith were racing over on 44th, and a pretty good friend of ours, I won't say any last names, but he just so happens to be a police officer, and he's kind of a comical type guy. And there's a curve where we were racing at, and basically he comes around that curve with no lights on, running about 80 or 90. There's 100 people watching us fixing to take off. He pulls a Starsky and Hutch out in front of us, power slides his car, jumps out, throws his gun over the top of the car, and tells me and Kevin both freeze. And he goes over his intercom and says, "Smith, Chambers, get out of the car," and throws his gun over there. I thought I was going to jail that night. Scared me half to death. People running everywhere, people running over the curbs, people driving off, and he's just rolling laughing. He got a real big kick.
He scared the
He
crap
scared
out
the
of all
shit
of us.
out of me 3 or 4
Hey.
A
times.
lot of the cops like that were pretty cool back in the day. I remember one time I was racing, I think it might have been Mike Wynn when he had that yellow Mach 1 or somebody.
Mike Wynn.
And we did our burnouts. It was on Reno Morgan Road. We just got through doing our burnout. And the guy that was flagging us all of a sudden took off running. Well, when the smoke cleared, there was a police car sitting like this far from my back bumper. And all I heard was on the loudspeaker went, "On your mark, get set, go home."
Home.
Yeah.
Right on. I wonder who that was.
I just right back into Bloom Electric, and he took off, and we just continued on doing our thing.
I remember
on.
Daddy Dave on 39th Expressway out there by the lake. He does a big burnout, all smoke everywhere.
Oh, I know the
Truck.
story.
Fucking,
Bam.
a truck came and ran into the back of him because he couldn't see it. Who the fuck drives into
Plowed it.
smoke?
Right.
Plowed right into the back of him.
Drunk dummy getting off
That
the
killed
new
his car,
turnpike.
didn't it?
Yeah, huh?
That killed his car, didn't it?
It buckled that bitch. He had to get it fixed.
A lot of our racing was done over on the south side, and with Saul Sosa, Mike Williams. I think I almost ran over Mike Williams one night. He was flagging us, and I know he jumped 6 feet in the air, and we knocked him. I knocked him 3 or 4 with the car when I was going sideways. Did quite a bit of racing with Jerry Gravitz in his Vegas.
Jerry Gravitz.
Yeah, Jerry Gravitz in his Vegas.
He never has the same car.
Yeah, that brown
He'll
Vega
bring
forever.
something out and race
Yeah.
you one week, next week he's got something different.
Yep, he would back in the day.
Back in the
Always.
day, always something different.
Another thing about Jerry Gravitz, we went down, and me and my dad on Southwest 74th, my dad would go wait on Jerry to get off work, and they would go out and race. Well, we had a race one night at Shields and 89th, and we took off about halfway down through there. Where the stop sign is, where the Loves, Jerry went through that doing about 120. So we followed him through there, and my dad said, "Oh, that's a bad deal, Jerry." So we went down to Pole Road. Well, I'd never raced on Pole Road before. My dad had never raced on Pole Road. We're running down through there, and there's a curve at the end of Pole Road.
Yeah.
And by God, there's only room for one car to go through that curve straight. And thank God we were in front of him.
Let me tell you something. If you drive through more and there's tracks on the street, they're Gravitzes, you know?
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
And that's how it is. And he's still a big street racer. He's got a Camaro now, and I'm sure he's in for any time, anybody.
Well,
but
we don't want no more damn Chevys. I've had my fill of them.
He's kind of like us. He's in that 1050 range. You know, back in the day when we all raced, the you know, a 1050 was a hell of a fast street car. I mean, I can remember Wayne driving down the street when the gold car, when he first got it, him and I would race. How many stoplights are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out to the lake. We'd race 5 times before we even got out to the lake to race.
Over at 39th Street.
Oh, there'd be how many? 100 cars behind
100
us.
cars, yeah.
It got
we were
so
the
bad.
show.
Yeah, and it got so bad that they started calling me because when I would come down 39th,
They knew something.
they knew something was up, and that yellow car, they'd just start following it. So I got to where I would just go out there and wait and do my racing because we really didn't like the crowds. And something I considered the street racing back then, guys, was kind of a secret society.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
it not?
it was until we started sitting on the side of the road and everybody saw us, and then they started sitting, and if we pulled off, here they come.
Yeah.
They'd be 100 deep.
Well, and
Oh, I remember going to Bloom Electric on Reno Morgan Road, and there'd be
Yeah.
people lined up both sides of the road halfway down the quarter.
Oh,
Back then, we was
yeah.
racing quarter mile.
right.
Yeah.
everything,
Halfway down
yeah.
the quarter mile, I mean, if anybody ever got out of shape, it was going to be just people like pinballs.
No, I
Right.
wasn't racing in the crowd. I
Right.
made them stand behind me.
Yeah.
Never race into a crowd.
Never race into a crowd. I know of one incident down in Texas where somebody was racing and raced into a crowd, and there was a guy in a Camaro that had bags of concrete in the
Oh
back
yeah,
of
the
his
tie
car.
rod end broke
Yeah,
And went off into
went
it.
off in the road.
in the
and
crowd.
Somebody had to drive in the back of a trailer all the way home and take the back roads home. I don't know who that was.
Me either.
But
Yeah.
y'all got the money, right?
Oh, we did.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't me though.
Okay.
I had nothing to do with that.
But we got our money while we were down there. I
Oh yeah,
understand.
we did take the money home.
Always taking the money.
Sent a bunch of people to the hospital.
Yeah, and that was the dangerous thing.
Yeah,
But-
I left. I was like,
If we're going to do something stupid like this, it's best just to be on our own, where we ain't going to don't kill no innocent bystanders,
well, it's all right if they've got those cement barriers down through there, but
like they do at Sayre.
yeah.
Well,
like they do
I
in
started
Syria.
talking about the secret society. Back in the day, I considered a secret society something me and my dad went. That was between me and my dad. We enjoyed going and racing the race car. What happened at the street races stayed at the street races. It was none of anybody else's business of what happened. So I kind of feel like the regular street racer today. If you're going to go out in the street race, you're taking a big chance on getting a lot of trouble. A lot of it's controlled environment now. It's just changed. The cars are a whole lot faster. We got these kids that can go buy a GTR that runs 160 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour. If they got the money, they can buy it and get into it. Do they belong in the car? Can they drive the car? No, probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
So
They don't work their way up to that speed. They go from nothing to a 10-second car and think they can drive it.
right, where me and Wayne started out in a 13-second car, a 12-second, 10-second. We worked our way up, had a lot of driving experience, had a lot of fun out on the street.
We had a blast.
Whole lot of fun.
But
Sitting
you
out
know,
on-
when we were doing it, there wasn't the traffic there is now. It was,
Oh, no.
Hell, this place wasn't here. It
cell
was a field.
cell phone, social media.
None of that.
Whenever I go out and show up with a car now, you got to cover up your tag. I've showed up with my yellow car several times. I've showed up with a little Mustang that I raced. And I go home and look on YouTube the next day, and there's 20 videos of my car with the tag on there. And yeah, I'm winning the race, but everybody and their brothers and sisters get to see it.
Right.
And we didn't charge for it.
Yeah, we didn't charge for it. It was free.
Bullshit.
So, and there was a lot of camaraderie hanging out at Sonic. A lot of real friendships were developed during that time.
Well, hell, I've known you since the 90s.
Yeah, we've known each other probably 30 years. I'm 47, so I know at least 35 years, Wayne. When I started driving, you were there and we were doing it.
I think I met you when I worked at Super Shops on May Avenue.
With Kevin Smith.
Right after Kevin Smith.
Right after Kevin
Danny
Smith.
Sherhoff still worked there.
He didn't work at Super Shops. He just hung out
He
there.
just hung out there.
No, I actually worked back then.
Well, Super Shops.
Can you imagine?
You remember the old
I
Babe
worked
Urson
there. That's
cam
where
for
I got it.
$69?
Yep, that Monza I had with a 400 small block in it had a Urson cam in it.
Yeah, Urson cam.
You probably don't remember
Urson
that
roller
car.
rockers. Remember them some bitches?
Yeah, back in the day. It's been a little while, but now we're in 2016, fixing to be 2017, and wow, has everything changed.
Yeah, well, you know, someone's still like, yeah, well, that was a 10-second car back in the 90s. Bitch, it's a 10-second car now.
That's it.
It's a 10-second then. The times haven't changed.
Right.
You know what I mean? A 10-second car in the 60s is still going to be a 10-second car now. The thing is, you can do it a lot cheaper with a lot less stuff because technology's changed.
It's a lot easier
you know?
to achieve 10 seconds than it was back
Yeah,
then.
yeah, oh yeah.
If you got money, you can do it. It's just like Terrell was saying when we did his show. Money wins in anything you do.
Well, I always said the one with the most money wins. Or you're racing a guy, it's cubic dollars.
I'm going to counter that. I'm going to counter that.
I used to do it. I
It
used to work
takes
a lot
more
of them
than
rich
fucking
boys.
money. It takes more than money to do this.
Well, it also takes knowledge.
It takes a lot of knowledge and learning. I've worked on Buicks. I know all the quirks. I know all the ticks about a Buick motor.
Right.
I got people all over the country that'll call me to build them a Buick motor. I don't really build motors. I send them to my buddy at TA Performance. He takes care of all my Buick stuff for me. He sponsored me some, and that's the place you go when you want to get a Buick done. You go to TA Performance or Automotive Machining Performance, and those two guys do a great job. You do not send a Buick motor to a Chevy or a Ford builder. You just don't do it. There's too many quirky things that go along with it. The motors are 40 years old, 2-bolt main, cast crank, and most of the people won't spend the $2,500 to $4,000 you need to put in a Moldex crank. Well, if you want to build a Buick motor and you're going to put $4,000 in a Moldex crank, you can go buy a Chevy motor that'll outrun that crank for $4,000.
Yeah.
And most people nowadays ain't got the money to buy a $4,000 crank.
No, but you can buy a $2,500 motor or a $4,000 motor that'll outrun that crank all day long.
Right.
That crank
Exactly.
don't do much sitting in the floor by itself without
No.
all the other components. And the Buick stuff is really expensive to race. And I was a budget racer for a long time. I've budgeted things and kind of just hung on to everything.
Right.
So this is my retirement program out here.
Yeah.
Bunch
Exactly.
of old Buicks.
You can tell a true racer. Everybody's drinking Cokes and shakes, and we're drinking water.
That's
Right.
it.
That's it. Every penny counts.
And eating Roman noodles.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, don't
Well,
even mention that.
and, hey, and something else. My wife, I really appreciate her and my family as far as them supporting me doing this stuff. She knew on Saturday night whenever I was leaving to go out to race my car, I was going to race my car. I wasn't going drinking. I wasn't going chasing women. We were going out to race.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, about 2 or 3 times, I got a phone. She'd get a phone call from me. Now, guys, this is way before a cell phone.
Right.
Your car's broke down beside the road, and you got to go get to a payphone to call her.
You've already walked 5 miles.
Yeah, to have.
And you don't want to leave your car.
And you don't want to leave your car. You got to leave your buddy with your car that you got with you. He don't want to stay there by himself. And you got to go and call like your wife or something and get your wife to come get you. So I always kept a trailer
Come
hooked
back,
up.
your buddy's there, the fucking car's gone. He's beat to shit, you know? It happens all the time.
Yeah, and as far as your wife had to load the trailer truck and come get me.
Right. Either that or come bail you out of jail.
Yeah. Yeah, never had to bail me out of jail. I always talked my way out of it. There was always some kind of way to get out of it. They were more concerned at the time frames we raced between 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Well,
Right.
all your DUIs happened between 1 and 3. So there was a
Exactly.
lot of logic behind that. And when we raced at 50th and out on 50th on Sunday, we had a little deal on Sunday. We had a few friends of ours,
Right.
you know, who were involved in the police department, and they would basically do their shift change between noon and 2. So on Sundays between noon and 2 for about 5 years, we
Right.
had a free run of it. We could do whatever we wanted to. We went
Exactly.
out there, and the old man that I raced with, W.C. Taylor, back in the day, he'd show up with his family out of church. Everybody would have their church clothes on, hop out of the car. He'd race the car. They'd all get in the car and drive home. Now, that was a 4-door 64 Buick that was red.
Well, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to take all this stuff to Sayre. You ever run down there?
I've been pretty successful down there. I had a fella down there in a GTR that had a pretty successful evening, had a $2,000 evening in Sayre one evening, and I've had several $1,500 and $1,800 and $2,500 nights at Sayre. Belinda Graham, she is awesome. She's the best thing that ever happened out there.
Oh yeah, she's going to work with us and let her. She's going to let us borrow the facility to do our shows.
Well,
You
this
know,
is
when we
awesome.
go down there and race and stuff.
Right.
In fact, this next event they're having on the 24th of this month, a lot of us are going to take the cars out there and we're going to do some filming and get her actual program for a show on there and try to get some of our guys in there, maybe do some interviewing with them, how their cars and stuff are.
Right on. Well, I think
Right.
she's been a big influence on the I'll say street racing, no prep scene, however you want to call it. They've got a nice little blacktop down there. The whole town is involved.
Yeah.
It's an awesome deal. They've got a fire department there. They've had some guys run off the end of the road. Shane McAlery actually had a pretty bad accident down there.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of that.
He's a really good guy. I think he got meta-flighted out
I
of
like
there.
Bob better.
You like Bob better?
The only thing about that wreck is they say Bob was unresponsive. He never.
Bob
Never did come back.
Bob never came around.
No, he never. He was unresponsive. They just said he sat there like a dummy.
He sat there like a dummy, huh?
You're stupid.
I heard they fought him to the nearest furniture store to get his face remade, but you know.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, I think that race and that venue down there is an awesome deal, and I'll be there with you guys, and we'll
Good
have
deal.
a good time. I think we got the support from the town and her, so
Oh, definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, we're going to go down there and film her. We actually went down there a couple of weeks ago and did the facility, and now we're going to go down there and actually get to racing and see how her program is and get some of our guys running in it. So
The program is a really neat program. I think everybody should go try it. You've had anybody and everybody from all over has been down there.
I said there's been someone from Pennsylvania.
the
come
mud,
down, the mud.
that truck.
Well, a guy bought I was real successful with a little Ford-powered Mustang for about 2 years, kind of a copper penny color. A fellow walked up to me at one of the races and handed me a bag of money. There wasn't a whole lot I could do about it.
Exactly.
So now the Nova is kind of the primary car, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on.
Well, good. We'll see you there on the 24th. You guys make sure and go check it out. It's a good deal. We're going to be out there racing, and look on her webpage, and you can get directions and anything if y'all want to go see us.
I'm Wayne Varley.
Jerry Chambers,
I'm Brett Poole, and we're Mean Streets, and
We'll see you later.
have a good one. Peace. Hold your ears, boys.